Christmas Eve. Look at that.
Merry Christmas Eve, everybody. Welcome back to Recoup. Today is Wednesday, December 24th, 2025. I'm Sweets. This is Sid. This is our midweek check-in where we talk about what we've delivered so far and what else we want to deliver for this week. I'll kick it off with what has been delivered. So far, let me check my list, but I know that we have CCs are now out and Markdown is now out. I think those are the two biggest changes. So if you go into a Recoup email, I had Recoup send me recipes last night, and then I forwarded it on to my mom because we have to cook something for Christmas dinner.
Fuck yeah.
Here it is, Sarah. So I said, hey, Sarah, what are the top TikTok videos for today? And I CC'd Sydney onto this.
I saw it.
And then we got Markdown. So it's not just a block of text now. We get the same Markdown that we get in chat. It's another thing. We have this little footer that's in all the messages now. Note you can reply directly to this email to continue, or you can continue on Recoup. So we have a link that way we can verify internally, and it also bridges the conversation for anybody else that's using it. And so you can see the formatting here is the same.
So cool, dude.
So now we are multimodal with our chat. We've got Markdown in here. We're preserving CCs. And so the question that I have is the same, which is what do we need to change so that our email experience is top tier to the point where we want to do a bigger marketing blast around it? I mean, we already have everybody's email. So one is we could just do our marketing blast via email and let them know, reply to this email to keep talking to Recoup. But the main question I have is that what else is missing for us to feel confident about email to be able to do a big marketing push?
There's a couple of things that I think are more UI, UX, fun little things, make it a pleasant experience. But I think the overall architecture feels good. My question around, and I sent it to you, the main question I have is like if I reply, like if customer replies to another customer and CCs Recoup, does Recoup assume that it needs to respond with that CC?
Yeah. Anything that Recoup gets, whether direct or CC, Recoup gets it. Recoup copies the same CC, and whoever was the from becomes the to. That's the current logic.
Got it. So that is my biggest question mark of continuing down the rabbit hole of the user experience is most of the times if I'm CCing somebody, I'm not expecting them to reply. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. It's a very human experience of the decision logic of that. Or when I say human experience, it's a very, like you have to read the email and decide your place, your role in the conversation. Do I need to reply or not? Do I have any extra information to give that would add to the conversation or no? Or am I just being CC'd on this email for visibility? And I feel like that logic in an LLM would add a lot of value to the email client, is acting like a human when understanding, are they being called or not? Or like, is there value for the agent in this conversation? So current, if the agent replies to CCs, regardless of context of the entire conversation, unlike a human. The question that I would ask you, because I don't think it's a blocker from rolling this out for me, but I do think it's something that if we don't address, we're going to get a lot of people that expect that intelligence to be there and will not include Recoup in emails that they don't want it to reply to, even if it would add value if Recoup was got the context of the continued conversation. Are you following me?
Yeah. Do you want, if Recoup is the to, it should reply?
Yeah. If Recoup is the 2, it should reply.
What if there's multiple people on the 2?
It's a good question. And this comes down to the question of the build of is there how difficult is it to add an LLM as a judge? I'm just using that terminology as just because it's the only terminology like that we have right now. But like an LLM filter to decide whether it should like the user wants Recoup to reply or not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like some kind of reasoning step in between whether if the LLM should reply.
Well, here's our logic for our handler. So we take the to array. Well, I'm sorry. So here's our from, our to. We get the CCs, and so here's our payload for us responding. What for your CC logic, I'm thinking of adding an LLM call right here. To do LLM call if Recoup is CC, not to. Send message, send email to LLM and get Boolean response of if Recoup is expected to reply.
I like it.
So CC something like that. And then if no reply expected, so false, return here.
Oh man, this is helpful when you're writing code notes on call. I like how I can see how you're thinking. Cool.
And even that then branches off and says, well, should we be saving that into our database so that we have that in a memory in the future for Recoup being CC'd? But for now, I just want to tackle one problem at a time so that it doesn't get branching. So does that match what you were expecting for CCing?
It's a good start. It's a really good start. And I agree. Let's tackle one problem at a time because I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
The other question is right now, this is in the email is in the Recoup API.
Yep.
Recoup is the email is technically a client. Do you think that the Recoup email should this be abstracted to its own repo? All of the email logic?
It could be abstracted to its own repo. It then would not live at api.recoupable.com. It would be its own. It is an API because what happens is resend needs a webhook. We gave it a webhook, and that webhook is an API endpoint. So naturally, I put it inside of Recoup API because it's just an API endpoint. We could abstract it an additional level and then move it away. And then when Recoup needs to generate the email response, instead of calling get general agent and agent.generate, we would call Recoup API. But
the question really is for me to understand your way of thinking of building out our ecosystem and platform. For example, if we were to do a Slack agent, where do we keep things in the API versus where do we move things to its own repo? Like email is a good example because it's a client, but it right now exists within the API.
Yeah.
So like I'm just trying to learn your preferences. So if I start to go build out other things, it's following your logic. At what point do we move this to its own repo? At like what feature or what implementation? Or do we just not and we just move everything into the API and we don't need a Slack repo, we just have an API one. But then this just starts to get monolithic, right? Like,
yeah, it gets bigger. I think how we've been doing it so far is the correct way of. It's an artistic decision. It's not a. But I don't think there is a correct way. I think there is an opinionated way, and so we get to decide how we want to be opinionated about our code implementation. So far, how we've been building is put everything in what makes sense. So we started and it was Recoup chat. Everything went in Recoup chat until Recoup chat. We just continue to get frustrated of why is this here? It should be in a different thing. And then the pain got big enough that staying the same was more painful than changing. And so now we are changing. I think the same logic makes sense to continue to follow. Put start off, don't overthink it, put it inside of Recoup API. That way, when we need to do custom agent system prompts and stuff, we don't need to making an API call. If this is external, if the client is separate, it needs to make an API call to Recoup API to do the chat, or we're duplicating API keys, which I don't think it might make sense, but that doesn't feel
Understood.
like the right way. So it needs to make an API call. And so if we need to customize things like system prompt and others, in previous calls, we've said we don't necessarily want to give that access in our APIs. We want to be more opinionated in our APIs. So the Recoup client would not be able to customize those things. So it is faster to build it inside of Recoup API because we can customize these chains of what agent do I want to get? Maybe we need a new agent with a new system prompt for email. We need to call agent.generate. And so building it inside of the API for me felt like the fastest build. So I think the logic is what is the fastest so that we can make it work and do the test and get feedback from our customers as quickly as possible. And then making it right and making it awesome is over time as we feel how it feels. I think it's more of a vibe. If it feels as you and I are using it, if you feel like Slack client should be external, build it external. If you think it should be internal, build it in API. I think the main discrimination right now is definitely don't build it inside of Recoup chat. If you are going to build it inside of an existing repo, build it inside of Recoup API because Slack is going to be the same architecture of Slack probably as a place for a webhook. And then that webhook will be into our APIs. And so emails, we have email. I'm working on SMS as well in parallel. And so for Slack, the API/Slack.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so this helps because what it does is you have 10 years of of experience to make your vibe decisions. I am 1 year in and not that experience. So my decision making is going to be completely different with yours. So no, this helps to understand. Do it similarly to how we did it with Recoup chat, which is like build it inside until it gets to the point where it makes sense to take the engineering time to get it out. And then do the same thing with this, which means that I need to just, if I'm going to start to do a Slack client or anything else like that, start to think through not keeping it in separate repos, but also just moving it over. But that goes to, that also like makes me feel like moving forward, like what we've been doing is I've been pair programming with Cursor, creating plans, and then implementing them, and then you reviewing the code and asking all of the questions there. And then maybe if we get on one of these calls, you'll question my decision before I do it. But I'm starting to think that like moving into 2026, it might be better if for the bigger lifts, not for like fixing bugs or like little like UI things, but like Slack implementation or something bigger, the bigger plans. We do plan review, or at least I send you a plan review before I implement, and then I'll implement, and then you can do code review as well. But that'll let you challenge my plans before they get implemented, and I have to backtrack. Any thoughts on that?
I love that. I mean, if I had someone like that, I would love to bounce it off of them as well. I just know if I send you a plan, you're just going to say, "Yep, do whatever you feel."
If you send me a plan, I will also read through it, and we can do the same thing. It's the code review that I'm still needed to get. I'm still learning. But if we want to start implementing plan reviews, I'm down. And at least let's try it and see. Because I like the idea. If it gets to a point where it's like you're like said you need to move faster, then we can always disregard the plan reviews for you. But I like it because then I can question your implementations. You can question my implementations. We can challenge the features and stuff and see how far we need to think through things.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to do it, because otherwise we build it out and then you ask the questions later and then it's like, well, we already made this decision. We don't want to spend all that time undoing it. So it's better to measure twice and cut once and make sure we're going in the right direction, move slower so that the architecture that we're building is in the right direction. Because I see it with Jad as well. Jad will build out a really big feature and he'll ship like 5 or 6 pull requests. And I'll review the first pull request 5 hours later. And I'm like, why did you do this? And all the other 5 were built on top of this one. And then we go on 100 message thread of us questioning the architecture and talking about the very first step and then agreeing that what I thought originally was not necessarily right there. Neither is where Jad built it out, but some middle ground between both of our ideas that we both agree is a better path. And then Jad reverts all of his pull requests and then goes back and redoes it again. I would prefer that Jad do that, but I also don't want to slow him down. So I'm there if he wants, but we haven't had that. We don't have that path. And I do think in my head, it would be more efficient in the longer term if we had moved slower originally, if Jad did not ship as much. But if he spent that first day, like right now we're doing SMS client for in process. And that was why I started building it over here, because I didn't want to use Twilio because you and I got blocked on Twilio. And so I sent him, hey, we want to do SMS. And then all day yesterday, he was just asking me questions and I loved it. He was just like, so I think we want to do this, make this API endpoint. And I think we want to do this. And then I said, well, what do you think about Supabase? And then we were just going over the entire architecture and every question that he had of how he thought he was going to be building. We talked it out. So I think the principle here is measure twice, cut once. And I do agree that checking in on the plan stage before we start making the cuts in the wood is going to prevent us from having to go back to Home Depot and make more trips to Home Depot to buy the wood that we need to build the house.
I really like it. Okay, so we'll implement that going into 2026. For the bigger stuff, I think like once a plan is implemented or the bug, it's like a bug or it's like a simple UI stuff, we can move forward. Sweet. Okay.
The main question I have here is, so CC, you want to throw it to an LLM call. My question is, do we always want to pass it into an LLM call to check if it should reply, whether it is included on in the to array or if it is in CC, or is the logic only, do we only want to, because every LLM call, one, it slows down the response, which doesn't necessarily matter for email. It also costs us money. Both of those might not matter on small scale, but as we scale, it's something to consider.
I think in CC for now. I think if it's in that's a good, I'm okay assuming that if it's two,
Recoup replies.
Recoup replies.
Okay.
If it's CC, it's the same thing. Well, yeah, it's not the same thing as a human. A human's always abstracting or thinking through, should I reply or not? But
right.
But I think it's fine for now. It's like right in the middle ground between, we'll be able to see both. Like you'll get a reply always if you do it in this place. You may or may not, and we'll be able to make that CC experience better, and then eventually move it to the two once we are confident that this thing is actually smart. It replies when it should.
Copy. So filter when it should reply. Other than when it should reply, what other things will make this a top tier experience that's going to blow the socks off and be something that going into 2026, our enterprise customers, when they're in Gmail or Outlook all day, they want to be talking to Recoup?
Okay, question. What does it do with files?
Right now, it does not do anything with attachments. We are not doing anything with those.
So that's what would be the next thing, that customers will assume if they attach something, Recoup will use it in the call.
Copy. Have you tried doing what has been your interactions with Recoup's email client so far? Do you have anything that you'd be willing to share to show us, or has it not been something you've been testing much?
I have not been testing it much. The last time we tested it on this call, I didn't get a response, but I think it's because of the bounced email situation. To fix that.
Yeah, we need to remove hi@recoupable.com and replace it with the mail.recoupable.com.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I can keep testing with other emails, which I will. I can do that. But those are the big things. On my side, I did more tests when it comes to what you had, your hypothesis of the call or the issue with task versus chat, and you were correct. It is just
randomness.
It's just randomness, or like the amount of things that the prompt gets. So like if I use Gemini 3, has a bigger context window, I got more. It usually found it more. So it seems like it's something. The fix is either use for that specific run that I'm testing with, use a bigger model with more context, or we have to take some thought about like using this longer prompt, optimizing our context window, our context consumption for long runs like this. Those are the two kind of things. But I think that context optimization for longer runs is probably a you thing. I can try it, but I mean, I could actually, now with the plan thing, maybe I can try it, but I think that maybe it's something that you'll want to tackle as well.
Yeah. So you have been able to get a successful run with your prompt in a task in trigger.dev?
If it's if I shorten the task. So like if I take right now, it's like a 7-step prompt. If I start to take steps out or shorten everything, then it does work. So it's just because it's a long run, which means it's just going off, because I have it scraping web and doing a bunch of things, and so like the context windows I can see why the context window is filling up a lot. So yeah, there's some questions about that. I'm also going to try, like the fire crawl agent just came out, and I want to test it there to see if that's an abstraction that we can also implement, because right now we're doing this perplexity scraping, and it goes perplex. The call goes perplexity, web search, and then if not, it goes to browser extract on the specific websites that we give it. So there's like a couple different tools that it does that I want to do. And then anyways, we can tackle that after you do email and stuff.
Is Firecrawl associated with BrowserBase? Are those the same company?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Let me see.
Are they competing products?
Firecrawl is browser is headless browser. Firecrawl is this entire screen. Yeah. I don't think it's the same. Let me see.
Okay.
I'm gonna dive into it and we'll see what's up. The other thing. Stop sharing. Okay, no, I think that's enough. I think that's good. Like we'll just knock out email. I guess the third thing for email that I wanted to think through, but we don't have to do it now. We could do it on Friday. Is to think through, like, now that email is done, what is the automation that we can set up for all of all the emails that we have?
Which is everybody that has an account with Recoup.
Yeah, exactly. And like, how can we leverage what we built as a marketing thing? Like, is it automatically sending customers like chats, like instances that they can reply to, like questions? Like, is it like, how do we leverage what we have, like, to get people to start chatting on email? Like, and I think separating them by segments, right? Like, free customer or hasn't logged in a while, we can send them a certain message. Customers, we can start to send them certain messages, but like proactivity of, like, depending on who they are and what's going to add them value. We're thinking through, like, what would get them to reply to this email, like, and the type of user that they are and what the information that we can give them. Is there anything like that we should do before, like scrape, like you know what I'm saying, like, so that they don't have to trigger? I don't know. I'm just thinking through. This is a powerful feature. So
we're much closer to their normal waking up now that we're in their email, as opposed to how do we get them onto our website? They're already organically opening up email. They're already organically getting push notifications when they receive emails. We are much more integrated into their daily life. And so I agree, it's powerful, and it's something we want to take seriously, of not upsetting people so that we get on their block list.
1,000%. It's almost like we have this powerful feature, and we need to now make sure that we continue to add, like, the value is going to be like, every time they see Recoup in their email, it's either going to go to like a ignore list in their brain, or oh, this is valuable in their brain.
Right.
So we need to, like, make sure that whatever we do to deliver to any customer, we're just tracking the value of what they're getting. So
AI Homegirl has come in and told us Firecrawl's agentic scraping. We don't usually have Recoup or YouTube people tuning in, but when they do, they're pretty active. She also then said, you can output a structured JSON body. And then I think she just replied to what we were asking about how we should do the emails. And she suggested a nurture sequence with 3 broadcast emails to start. One, I would assume, is us announcing, hey, email client is now live. You can reply to it.
That's fun.
And then the last one, she asked, what CRM are you using? We're not using any CRMs at the moment, right? Or we've home built our own internal CRM.
Yeah, it's just Cursor.
Thank you, AI Homegirl. It's the first time we've seen you here, and appreciate you giving us a heads up on what Firecrawl is.
Yeah, awesome. All right, awesome, dude. I'm going to art class with Sori. So I appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. We'll talk if we'll be there on Friday, because right now I don't have a meeting in my calendar. But if not, we'll see you on Monday.
What time?